Let's talk about something almost everyone has experienced, but few ever understand. They seemed interested, you felt a connection, you laughed, shared, maybe even opened up in ways you hadn't in a long time. Everything felt like it was building towards something real, and then they vanished. No explanation, no closure, just silence. And the voice in your head starts to whisper, was it something I did? Was I too much? Not enough? Let me pause you right there, because the truth is the reason someone disappears after showing interest is rarely about you. It's about them. But unless we understand what's really happening, we end up rewriting the story to make ourselves the villain. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some people act interested because they love the attention, not because they want connection. They show up in your life to feel good about themselves, not to truly get to know you. Their interest, it's often just a mirror for their own validation. They flirt with commitment, but they don't intend to stay. And they may not even be aware they're doing it. Now, that's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to recognize the pattern when it starts. Sometimes people disappear because the fantasy was more comfortable than the reality. The idea of love is safer than the work of building it. They disappear because real connection requires vulnerability, effort, and emotional maturity. And for some, that's just too much. They say all the right things when it's easy, but when it starts to get real, when consistency, patience, and growth are required, they retreat because real love is scary to someone who hasn't done the work to receive it. So if you've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, or led on, this is not your cue to shrink. It's your invitation to elevate. You deserve someone whose actions match their words, someone who shows up when it's inconvenient, not just when it's fun, someone who pursues clarity, not confusion. But here's the hard part. That kind of love only finds you when you stop chasing people who don't know how to hold space for you. So next time someone disappears, don't make it about your worth. Don't rush to fill the silence with self-doubt. Instead, stand still in your value, because their silence is giving you information. They're showing you who they are. Believe it. And remember this, when someone leaves, your worth doesn't leave with them. Your peace, your standards, and your love for yourself must remain. Because the moment you stop romanticizing potential is the moment you make room for something real. Not everyone who shows interest wants a relationship. Here's a truth most people don't hear early enough. Just because someone shows interest in you doesn't mean they're ready or willing to build a relationship. This is where so many of us get confused. We meet someone, feel a spark, the conversations flow, there's eye contact, chemistry, laughter, a sense of possibility. Everything about it feels like it's moving somewhere, and then suddenly it stops. They pull away, they ghost, they vanish, and you're left wondering what went wrong. But let me tell you, their interest was real for them. In that moment, you did spark something in them. But don't confuse a spark with a flame. Don't confuse a moment of excitement with a long-term intention. Because some people flirt with connection simply because it makes them feel good. They show interest because they love how you make them feel. But when it's time to show up, when emotional responsibility enters the picture, they check out. It doesn't make them evil, but it does make them unreliable. And if we don't understand this, we start blaming ourselves. We replay the dates, overanalyze the texts, and ask, what did I do wrong? But the better question is, what did I miss? Sometimes we're so eager for love that we accept attention as proof of connection. But attention is cheap. Consistency is costly. Anyone can show up when it's fun, but someone truly ready to love you will show up when it's uncomfortable, when it takes effort, when it's not easy. That's where real connection begins. You've got to stop equating early interest with emotional availability. Just because someone desires you doesn't mean they're ready to receive you. You can be someone's fantasy and still not be their priority. You can be everything they claim to want and still not be met with real commitment. Why? Because it's not about your worth, it's about their capacity. Here's your reminder. Interest means nothing without effort. Attraction means nothing without consistency. And chemistry means nothing if they disappear the moment things get real. So how do you protect yourself without closing your heart? You raise your awareness. You stop giving your energy to people who haven't earned it. You observe, you listen, and you don't confuse charm for character. Let people show you who they are over time. Don't rush the story. Let it unfold. And when someone reveals they're not ready for you, believe them. You deserve more than just interest. You deserve intention. It's about them, not you. Let's get something clear right now. When someone disappears after showing interest, it's not always about you. In fact, most of the time, it's about them. We spend so much time looking in the mirror after someone pulls away. Did I say too much? Was I not attractive enough? Should I have waited longer to text back? We internalize their exit like it's a performance review on our value. But what if the story you're telling yourself is all wrong? What if they left not because of what you did, but because of what they couldn't handle? See, we all have our own emotional timelines. Some people haven't dealt with their past. They still carry unhealed wounds, fears of intimacy, fears of being known. When you come into their life with honesty, with real connection, with clarity, it threatens their patterns. It disrupts their comfort zone. And instead of rising to the occasion, they retreat, they run. And that has nothing to do with you being too much. In fact, sometimes people disappear because you were finally the real thing, and they weren't ready for it. This is why blaming yourself never helps, because you can spend hours trying to decode someone's behavior when the truth is they don't even fully understand it themselves. They might have liked the attention, but not the accountability. They liked the energy, but not the responsibility. You made them feel something real, and they weren't emotionally equipped to handle it. Let that sink in. They didn't ghost you because you were unworthy. They ghosted you because they were unready. You've got to stop turning someone's emotional confusion into your personal punishment. Stop making their disappearing act your identity. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some are just passing through, revealing what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Here's the shift. When someone exits without explanation, you don't chase clarity, you create boundaries. You don't beg for closure, you decide the relationship is closed. That's power, that's peace, that's maturity. Because the deeper truth is this: you're not responsible for someone else's emotional unavailability, but you are responsible for what you accept, what you believe, and how long you hold on to someone who's already let go. The next time someone shows interest and disappears, remind yourself their actions are a reflection of their capacity, not your value. Let that be the lesson. Let that be the closure, and move forward with this confidence. The right person won't leave you guessing. They'll leave you feeling safe, seen, and sure. Interest isn't investment. Just because someone shows interest doesn't mean they're ready to invest. That's one of the hardest lessons we learn in dating, and it's also one of the most liberating once it finally clicks. Think about it. Interest is easy. Anyone can send a flirty text. Anyone can show up once or twice, pay you a few compliments, and make you feel like you're the center of their universe for a moment. But investment, that's different. Investment is showing up when it's inconvenient. It's consistency over intensity. It's what someone does after the high of excitement wears off. Here's the trap. Many people confuse sparks with substance. You meet someone, and it's exciting. They laugh at your jokes. They remember your favorite song. They even say things like, "I've never felt this before." And you start to believe that this could actually go somewhere. But then they pull back. Their messages slow down. They become vague. And before you know it, the person who couldn't stop texting you is now MIA. Why? Because interest got them in the door, but they never planned to stay. Here's the reality. Interest is passive. It's what you feel. Investment is active. It's what you do. Someone can be genuinely interested in you and still not be willing to do the work that a real connection demands. And if you don't understand the difference, you'll constantly be disappointed by people who seem like they care but never follow through. Let's be clear. Someone's attraction to you isn't enough. Their desire to be around you isn't enough. What matters is what they're willing to do consistently to build something with you. Are they present? Are they intentional? Do they show up when it matters, not just when it's fun? If not, you have your answer. You don't need to read between the lines. If someone disappears, if someone fades, if someone goes cold, it's not because you weren't good enough to keep their attention. It's because they never intended to truly invest in the first place. This is where your power comes in. You get to raise the standard. You get to decide that interest without effort is a no. You get to stop chasing mixed signals and start recognizing clear actions. Someone who's serious will show it. They won't just talk about the future. They'll include you in it. They won't just want your time. They'll respect it. They won't just say you're special. They'll treat you like you are. So the next time someone seems interested, pause, ask yourself, is there real investment behind it? Are they putting skin in the game? Are they consistent or just convenient? Because if they're not willing to invest, you shouldn't be handing over your emotional savings. You deserve more than curiosity. You deserve commitment. Don't make excuses for inconsistent behavior. Let's talk about something we've all been guilty of: making excuses for someone who isn't showing up consistently. They don't reply for days, and suddenly you're rationalizing maybe they're just super busy. They cancel plans last minute again, and you're telling yourself they probably had a really tough day. They give you just enough affection to keep you hanging on, and instead of recognizing the pattern, you focus on the potential. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. The more you excuse someone's inconsistency, the more you betray yourself. You teach yourself to settle for crumbs while dreaming of a feast. You start to believe that love should feel like confusion, like anxiety, like waiting around hoping someone chooses you. But real connection doesn't feel like that. It doesn't make you second guess your worth. It doesn't leave you constantly justifying behavior that doesn't align with your values. Let's get honest. When someone wants to be in your life, they don't leave you guessing. They don't disappear and return like it's a game of emotional hide and seek. They don't require a novel of excuses to explain their behavior. They show up consistently, clearly, boldly. Now, here's what makes this tough. When someone has potential, when they sometimes treat you amazingly, it's tempting to hold on to those moments like they define the whole relationship. But if the good moments are interrupted by long stretches of silence, mood swings, or hot and cold behavior, then you're not in a relationship. You're on a roller coaster. And love isn't supposed to make you nauseous. It's not your job to decode their mixed signals. It's not your role to fix, change, or save them. You don't need to wait for someone to suddenly wake up and realize your value. Your value doesn't increase because someone finally sees it. It's constant and it's not up for negotiation. So here's what you do. Pay attention to actions. If their words are poetic but their follow-through is poor, listen to the inconsistency, not the intention. If they show up only when it suits them, recognize that pattern. And if you find yourself making excuses over and over, stop and ask, would I accept this from a friend? Because if the answer is no, why accept it from someone trying to earn a place in your heart? You deserve someone who shows up not just when it's convenient, but when it counts. Someone who makes an effort, not just an appearance. When you stop making excuses for others, you start making space for someone who doesn't need excuses to love you well. So today, draw the line, set the standard, honor yourself enough to say, if you can't show up consistently, you don't get access to me casually. That's not harsh, that's self-respect. And self-respect, that's attractive, that's magnetic, that's powerful. Focus on living a full magnetic life. Here's one of the biggest truths people overlook when it comes to attraction. Real, lasting attraction comes from living a full life, not just being attractive to someone, but being attractive on your own. And I don't mean full like your calendar is packed. I mean full like your soul is alive. See, the mistake so many people make is trying to become someone for another person. They adjust their likes, their appearance, their pace, all in the hopes of fitting into someone else's story. But the people who truly stand out, the ones we can't help but be drawn to, are the ones who are already living a story of their own. They have purpose, they have passion, they don't chase attention, they generate it by being deeply connected to themselves. If you've ever noticed how some people just seem magnetic without even trying, it's not because they have perfect looks or flawless charisma. It's because they are engaged with their life. They love what they do. They're curious. They're driven. They're present. That energy is infectious. It makes people lean in. It makes people ask, what is it about them? And here's the kicker. When you focus on building this full life, you stop waiting. You stop waiting for a text, for a sign, for permission. You're too busy growing, too busy laughing, too busy creating a reality that feels good with or without someone else in it. Because when your life is full, any romantic connection becomes a bonus, not your source of meaning. Now, let's be real. It's hard to focus on yourself when your heart is elsewhere. When someone's playing hot and cold with you, your energy naturally gets tied up in trying to figure them out. But this is where your power lies. The moment you redirect that energy from analyzing them to investing in you, everything shifts. Start saying yes to the things that make you feel alive. Join the class, start the project, travel solo, reconnect with friends, read the books, build the life that doesn't leave you sitting around wondering when they'll show up again. You know why this works? Because when someone sees you thriving, they either step up or step aside, and either one is a win. And the best part, you're not just doing this to get someone's attention. You're doing this because you deserve to feel whole, because your life matters, your passions matter, and your time is sacred. So stop orbiting around someone else's potential. Become the center of your own universe. Make your world so rich, so compelling that anyone who wants to be a part of it has to earn their place. And remember, the most attractive thing in the world isn't trying to be chosen. It's choosing yourself fully, every single day. Respect yourself enough to walk away. Let's end with this. It might be the hardest lesson of all, but it's also the one that will protect your peace, your time, and your future more than anything else. You have to respect yourself enough to walk away when someone shows you they're not serious about you. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity. See, when someone gives you inconsistency, when they're hot 1 minute and cold the next, it's easy to internalize it, to think, if I just do a little more, show a little more, give a little more, maybe they'll finally see my worth. But here's the thing, someone who's emotionally mature and truly interested doesn't need to be convinced. They recognize your value, they show up, they make it clear. And the longer you stay in situations where you're not being treated the way you deserve, the more you train yourself to accept less than you're worthy of. I get it, walking away feels like loss. It feels like closing a door on potential. But what you're really closing the door on is confusion, on feeling like you're constantly guessing where you stand, on emotional tug of war, and on the story you've been telling yourself about someone who's only shown you half-truths. Walking away is an act of love, self-love. It's saying, I want love, but not at the cost of my dignity. I want connection, but not at the expense of my peace. I want a partner, not a puzzle. And let me be clear, walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you shut your heart off. It means you understand that your heart is too precious to be placed in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to hold it. It's about standards, not ego. When you have standards, you don't chase people. You attract the right ones. You don't try to make someone fit a role they're not willing to play. You hold space for someone who wants to be there consistently, willingly, and wholeheartedly. When you walk away, you don't lose. You make room. Room for healing, room for someone better, room for growth, and most importantly, room for your authentic self to breathe again. Don't be afraid to disappoint someone who's okay with confusing you. Don't be afraid to be alone for a while if it means you'll be whole. Because at the end of the day, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, by what you tolerate, and by what you walk away from. So when they disappear, let them. When they play games, step off the board. And when you feel your value being diluted, don't lower your price. Change the buyer. Respect yourself enough to choose you every single time.